And is there a kind of threat to what you guys do? I mean, there's a number of different wire services out there, video, text. What's to stop somebody launching something and being storyful, or are you already, do you think, too entrenched now?
That's why I'm here. Like last year we had a moment when we realized we were going to break even. We could have raised more money. We could have, there were a few interesting offers for the company, and we just said to ourselves, we can go on our own and risk someone catching up and overtaking us. We could risk maybe the AP or Reuters coming in and trying to take us out, or a whole number of scenarios. And I was talking to Raju Narasetti, I was talking to Ron Chopra, you were here, all these people, Liz Heron, all the people that I really respected, and essentially I realized that's the natural home. We can be turbocharged. We can really turn this on. We don't have to worry anymore necessarily about the payroll at the end of the month. We can put some real effort and risk into this. And so that's why we came to essentially, we had a lead. It was a fairly good lead, but it may not survive if we were on our own. And so that's why we came, because we thought this is going to be the way to turn this engine into something that actually power a really big organization.
And what about YouTube? I mean, this is one of the things that I know has been a backbone of what you've done. Just want to see, maybe it's worth explaining a bit more about how you've worked with YouTube in the past. One of the things I find interesting about this is that YouTube don't want to kind of editorialize and have an editorial team making decisions on what's important. They obviously want to try and rely on an algorithm. And I've actually said to Google in the past, you guys have been using Storyful as your Blackwater. You go in and make those editorial decisions for them and do it almost kind of on the side. It's being done, but it's being done by you. How's that worked, and how's that going to work in the future? And do you see a threat where YouTube actually and Google turn around and say, all right, finally, we're going to have our own editorial team that's going to go out there and reach out and engage with these people and decide?
That will never happen. Their whole business is built on the idea that they don't choose between two videos, they let their audience do that. And so therefore, if they stepped in and said, this video is more important and significant than that one over there, it destroys their entire DNA. And so therefore, those companies, but also this is where the opportunity is. If you look at a brand, if you look at a Chrysler, or you look at Morgan Stanley or whatever, they don't want to be in the content creation business. They certainly don't want to be verifying and certifying some user-generated piece of content. They want someone else to do it. In the same way as the AP was, the trusted source for U.S. election coverage, for example. And I think that's where we can, as News Corp, jump in and say, hey guys, we can move in there and provide the services that allow your users to discover and verify and make your platform more useful. And that's what we've been doing with YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. So we were in San Bruno with them for a whole day last week, and it was just tremendous because, they don't get it. They're technologists, right? I always describe it like journalists are like ADHD. They've got this sort of constant looking around for the new thing, and developers and technologists come out the other end of the social spectrum where they're kind of slightly Asperger's. They kind of just sit down and they look at one problem and they solve it. And just uniting those two things is going to be really interesting for us. And I think YouTube have woken up to the fact that they need help in making their platforms useful without changing the fundamental nature of the platform, which is very democratic. So I think that bodes well. They will never be in the content business. They had a go with it. I think that hasn't really worked out for them. And I think that's what's going to be. They will be looking for other people to help them, and I hope News Corp will be one of those agencies.
It also keeps them well away from any regulation around media in certain parts of the world. If they start making editorial decisions, they start stepping well into our world.
Yeah, and they've got people in Europe, particularly in Germany and Italy, they hate social media. I mean, the politicians, and you've got news organizations that are banned from using, I think Austria bans the use of Twitter on TV. So, they've got this massive legacy fear of big companies, and they really are. They've got people working full time on lobbying in Europe, and you look at what's happening in Turkey right now, where the Prime Minister, or President Erdogan, is vowing to wipe out Twitter because it's revealed secrets about his government. So they're scared silly of that, and if in some way we can be the ones taking the responsibility and stand up for our principles, I think that's going to be the marriage made in heaven. Platforms, and they're like telephone. No one would expect AT&T to make a decision about the content of the phone call, right? That wouldn't be the way. So I see these guys almost like Comcast creating a platform for ABC or CBS, and that's our role, is to program and do the content.
So almost 5 years ago, we'll throw out some questions in a minute, almost 5 years ago we were sat there kind of trying to knock on the door of all the different news and trying to get them to understand social media and how important it was going to be in breaking news situations and news in general, and for brands. Now you're at News Corp. 5 years from now, where do you see kind of Storyful?
I think we'd be bigger than AP is. I think we will be, part of I hope, and this may be thrown out too early here, but I would hope that News Corp thinks about itself as a content exchange and an ad exchange. And that we can put these two things together where the incredible original content being created by the Journal or by the Sun or the Australian can be pushed into a content exchange that goes out on every platform and carries with it the kind of advertising that will make it valuable. And also then we have, you know, the ad sales and the advertising part of this organization creating campaigns and engaging content. And if we do that together, you know, we will be the biggest media organization in the world, not on news. And I would hope Storyful will be the integral part of that, just like Factiva, the Journal, and we'll be of that size. And you know, we'll be one of the things that powers the great content that will continue, you know, to be up demand. Because remember, the one thing is, journalism has never been more valuable than it is today. The ability to contextualize and provide a narrative to unrelated facts. That's what we're doing now. And I think if we just carry on that tradition of turning content into stories, and News Corp strategically as coherent internal kind of operation, then I think we can help sort of kickstart and turbocharge that growth.
Thank you very much.
I remember, by the way, one time we were sitting for a pint in his local pub in London, and I was kind of trying to poach him, right? So we were sitting there saying, what if we could just get, like, you know, a couple of million just to try and just ask go for this for a year. Then he went off to the Journal, but I remember thinking at the time, wouldn't it be great just to be able to do that with the security to know that we wouldn't be going bust in 6 months. And then he's gone off to Australia, so...
I should have come to you guys and got some equity, right? That would have been a much better. So I think we'll throw it, on that note, we'll throw it out to questions, if anybody's got any for Mark at all. Charlie?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so now that we are together with this big family, how should editors and reporters at the Journal be thinking about using Storyful, or should we be using it?
So yeah, how should editors out there, and I think this kind of goes to lots of departments, be thinking about using you, and also how should they engage with you?
Yeah, it could vary. You know, I think what we're doing, the Journal is a good example where we've got enough resources coming back in the relationship to justify, you know, David, for example, is there in the morning at his morning meetings. Our team is 24/7. You can access them anytime, day or night. We're working out the structures at the moment by which, you know, we can resource that, but essentially we would like you to think of us like the AP internally. And so if a story breaks, or a story that you're interested in is not really going mainstream but you want to go after it, you can talk to us 24 hours a day. We have a dashboard that you can see all our content, and we're hoping and working with some of the technologists to just plug us right into your CMS.
We're now actually plugged, Storyful are now plugged fully into the next generation stream. I was just demoed it on the way up. You can just turn the Storyful button on, and for the Journal, for the streams, you can just pull in the Storyful content directly.
Yeah, and I think events as well, we're going to be working so that if you want the World Cup, you want to cover the World Cup, you want to cover the launch of a major gadget or a new iPhone, you know, just giving us advance notice of that so we can know that you want something. That's really the way it is. I think, you know, part of the problem is we could be overwhelmed. Obviously, we're still a small company, and we're just conscious that we need to not, you know, fall over with all the demands. So we're trying to, in some ways, you know, systematically push ourselves into the round. So, for example, getting in the morning editorial meetings or sending out newsletters in the morning so that you're up to date. You can sit on the subway and see what's coming out of the social web. You know, we're working all those things and having great sort of R&D conversations as well. Even tonight, had 3 or 4 conversations about how we can better serve not just News Corp but also build new products. So just talk to us. That's really it. And if you don't know how to talk to us, you know, are we still newsroom at storyful.com?
Yes.
That's it. That's got someone at the end of that 24 hours a day.
And bespoke project, long-term bespoke projects as well. We've had some success with in the past.
And I mean, you know, Neal again did the Insurgent gig last year with Borderlands, a project for the Syrian-Turkish border. And I mean, you cobbled together all the resources for that and brought us in to help, and it was just great. But it didn't come from any formal process, right? You had to subvert.
No, yeah, we went a bit rogue. Myself and Joe Parkinson. But yeah, we got it done. And it worked, and it was great working with you guys on it. And it was a kind of good bespoke project.
You nominated, I think, or something for a couple of awards.
For the European Press Award, I think, Innovation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, we're here, 1185, just down the road, and if anyone in the insurgency out here has a road project they're working on, they'd like to get some sort of maybe momentum, just give us a call and we'll come up and have a coffee here and, you know, chat about it. I think I measure expectations, but we should be talking about this. If it doesn't work now, if it fails now, that's fine. Give yourself the room and the space to fail. And I would say that to more senior executives within the organisation is, nothing will happen unless you incentivize your own staff to fail quickly and learn and do it again. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in culturally in an organisation like this or other news organisations is we don't like failure, we don't like risk. And we're going to have to, I think, change our mindset and change the mindset of probably some of our executives as well.
I have a two-part question. How much of the content flowing through Storyful is non-journalist generated as per now?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, so how much content passing through our platform is non-journalist? I'd probably say, 95% of it? Yeah, I mean, probably more than that. The only content we ever pass through that's from journalists is usually tweets, alerts, signal from journalists, or corroboration for videos that come from user-generated content. We have a little video here we sort of showed to the News Corp board. I don't know if we can...
Yeah, you want to show it?
Yeah, it's just, we were asked to present to the News Corp board about 3 weeks ago. So it's a very roughly put together, and it's got a horrible voiceover, but it shows a little bit about the kind of content that we bring in and the kind of stuff we do. So.
In the age of social media, everyone is an eyewitness to the raw power of Mother Nature, to the tragedy of war, to the simple joys of human endeavour and its absolute limits. But with 100 hours of video uploaded on YouTube every single minute, how do you separate signal from noise? Storyful is the first news agency of the digital age. We discover, verify, and monetize the most compelling content on the social web. Storyful is often the first to find defining images of big news events through a unique blend of technology and journalism. We pioneer the skills that help us separate digital facts from fiction, even in the fog of war. And we've developed a business model for the most engaging videos on the social web. Last year's viral video hit Emotional Baby had just thousands of views on YouTube when we found it. Today it has 30 million. Storyful videos generated more than 750 million streams in 2013 on YouTube alone. After just 4 years, Storyful is the leader in an emerging market. More than 40 news organizations now subscribe to the Storyful Newswire. After joining the News Corp family, we're developing partnerships and products with all of the News Corp mastheads and brands. But Storyful's vision is not limited to news. As part of News Corp, Storyful is offering solutions to brands and marketers who have an insatiable appetite for engaging content. Storyful is working on branded content solutions with the Wall Street Journal and Post Studios, and the market response has been favorable. Storyful is also developing a corporate intelligence solution, mining social conversations for insights that move markets and help inform risk and compliance. Storyful has big ambitions, but with News Corp, we're convinced we can own the digital future.
So sorry about the big hard sell, but this was in front of the bosses. So sorry, now long answer to your question is that...
My question to that is, I wonder, once like social media, like the adjective gets dropped and it's just mainstream, it's just media, it's integrated into the newsroom and media consumption. I'm wondering just what your thoughts are if there will be an inflection point, because so much is user-generated that will people stop taking videos and photos of everything that happens in their life, and sort of content could become an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right to say that. So my aim is to make what I do obsolescent almost, so social journalism is why I describe this, what we do. It will eventually become journalism. I think in terms of video, UGC will account for most of the views that are generated on digital platforms. I think this year, probably. I don't have any scientific facts on that, but I think the vast majority of content being used by news organizations will be UGC in some form. I think we'll also see professional journalists moving into social web content creation. So, like for example, we'll see more people using apps like Tout, which allows a journalist to go to a red carpet or an event and give a very short digital video burst. So I think UGC will just become content. The majority will be opportunistic, ordinary citizens witnessing something, but more and more we'll see an organization around what we used to call citizen journalism, which is activists, NGOs, brands, journalists using the social web as a source and a destination. And I think we'll bypass a lot of the traditional platforms that we used to work on. I think that's what's going to happen. As to your point, will people stop taking pictures? I mean, Google Glass, you know, like when I remember my childhood, I had maybe 60, 70 photographs of my childhood. My kid is 8 years old and 6 years old. I mean, they've got entire banks of video. They're creating themselves at their age. I mean, think about it. If you watch your child using an iPad, I mean, it's like they've got an extension of their limb. They don't see it as technology, whereas I still marvel at what's inside the box. So I think we'll see a huge explosion even beyond what we have at the moment. And that's where we come in. We're more important because we now will have a bigger reservoir of information and video and content to filter and create, turn into stories. That's, I kind of see how it will go, but I don't think we'll. And again, remember that, you know, a lot of the world is not yet connected to this content creation and syndication platform. So you're seeing in Africa and parts of Asia people jumping from analog to digital in one go, bypassing all the MySpace and Bebo and all that failure, and going straight to very high class content creation platforms. So I think it can only grow, and I think probably the next, big innovative company will come out of Nairobi or, Rangoon or whatever. We're going to see emergence of new media empires in places we didn't expect.
Not to ask you to divulge you guys' secret, but essentially, what gives you the ability to find the baby video at 10,000 views that's going to hit 30 million views? Where did you guys find that algorithm, or whatever that secret is?
So we have a platform internal. How do we get the video before it goes viral? So we have a system called Stream Desk, which applies the techniques and principles I talked about earlier on. We find the conversation. So let's say Reddit. So Reddit has all these people who talk to each other every day, all day, and they're looking at kind of weird and wonderful things happening in the world, and they're always beat the first because they're motivated. You think about the person who, you probably have someone in your circle, right, who sends you an email with a funny video. And that's motivated by this urge and need to be the first, right? To share in a community of people a joke, a story, and a video. So there's millions of those kinds of people who live on Reddit, Instagram, Facebook, and what we've done is we've built a way of listening to their conversations. And we see spikes of velocity. We have a heat map which tells us when a particular conversation is really lively. It's a good indication that the news is broken or they found a video. And so we get in there and get that signal. And we have a very automated process for getting licensing agreements and forms to be uploaded, and then we talk to them and guide them through the process. So we're streamlining it all the time. So that's how it works. But it can always be better. So people will compete with us, and it's good. It's a good environment. But no, it works most of the time, and that's where the value is. The arbitrage, just like any financial system.